I think I was always kind of interested in more. More was like always the school for me. Hearing about the internships they offer and mentorships and just how you can go straight into the industry afterwards. And it's just like, well, what other school do you know? Like, what was it, like 94% or 98% of graduates from Moore have a job right after? It's like, okay, why not? And it was like definitely a go when I got the Visionary Woman Scholarship.
If I didn't have it, I wouldn't be here.
I would have went to community. I was actually thinking about this morning. And my dad was like, we can't afford that school, like you can't go. And I was like heartbroken. And then we got this in the mail and they were like, oh, you have all this money. And I was like, Dad, I can go to school.
So I know when I got it, I was just like, okay, this is cool. What's a visionary woman?
Yeah.
95% of our students receive scholarships, and it makes the difference between being able to go to college or not. And the Visionary Woman Awards generates dollars that go directly to the scholarships for these students.
It's always a push to prove yourself.
Yeah.
And like wherever you go, especially, you know, as female artists, we often get discredited simply based on our gender, and it shouldn't happen. So that kind of push, it flourishes in a positive way with healthy competition among our peers. So like,
I feel like I can compete with everyone, but like it's not like a mean competition. It's like I can do better, but you can do better too, and I'm gonna help you get there.
Being around all women and like being around like friends and peers and classmates, it just like really helps us grow as artists.
And it really, you know, speaks positively on the school because it's just like, the school supports that message of empowerment.
Women still struggle to gain national reputation in the fields of art and design. The women who are honored through Visionary Woman Awards deserve it, because they are really the culmination of what it is that we are teaching here. They become the role models for our students. Dr. Mary Campbell is a renowned curator and art historian. She is the president of Spelman College, which is also an all-women's educational institution. So in many ways, we're partners in this opportunity of launching young women into the world of business and art and culture.
When I graduated from high school, it was 1965. So that was the year of the Voting Rights Act, and the year before had been the Civil Rights Act, and before that, the March on Washington. So for me, I felt the whole world was changing. I thought that we were in the middle of a revolution, literally, and that I could pretty much do anything I set my mind to. There was this incredible sense of possibility at that time. It was a time of change and reckoning for Swarthmore College as well. My class was the first class that had more than 1 or 2 black students. There were 20 of us. And that was explosive at Swarthmore. We brought our culture into the culture of Swarthmore, and we clashed. As I tried out new things, I came across a field called art history. And I didn't know anything about what art history was. You stood around and you looked at a lot of paintings and sculpture. But I found that I loved it. And I remember one day, I was standing there at an opening, and the director of the Everson Museum came in, and he turned to me and he said, "Do you think you could curate a show of an artist?" I said, "Sure, I could do that." And he said, "Well, who do you think is the most important black artist alive right now?" And I said, "Romary Bearden." He said, "Well, why don't you curate a Romary Bearden show?" I said, "Great, I'll do it." I had never curated anything at that level in my life. That was my first real museum show. The Studio Museum in those days was a beautiful loft space over a Kentucky Fried Chicken and a liquor store. But inside that space, the exhibitions were absolutely first rate. I can feel energy. And if somebody wants to put the energy and the time into something, I'm with you. You know, and we can make it happen. We had basically gone from this little rented loft to building an accredited fine arts building in the middle of a Harlem that was almost savaged by the financial decline of New York City. I thought to myself, you know, I've learned a lot. And I could bring a lot of those lessons to being a cultural affairs commissioner. I think it was a big surprise when I was appointed, but from my perspective, it was exactly the logical next step for me to take. Having learned this at the kind of local neighborhood level, how can I bring that to bear in a larger landscape, in this case, the 5 boroughs of the city of New York? At that time, the world was shifting from analog to digital technology. And when I went in, we had Steenbecks. And you actually cut the film and spliced it back together, right? That possibility of creating these new disciplines based on the fact that you have this new set of tools, that was the real adventure for me while I was at the Tisch School. I get most excited about the women who are our students. They are phenomenal. I can sit down at the cafeteria and within 5 minutes I've got a table full of students and I'm engaging them, and I can hear that sense of purpose, that sense of mission, the desire not just to excel but also to go out into their communities and do some service, make a change, make a difference. That's the thing that just excites me day after day. My vision of myself has changed radically at different moments. I married at the age of 20 when I was a junior in undergraduate school. And when I married, I decided that I was going to have 5 children and be a stay-at-home mom. That's why I say being open is so important. Because whatever direction you think you have mapped for yourself, you have to be open to those moments where you know it's time for you to take a different direction.
Saturday graphic design, and then I did like
before this program, I never like considered myself a leader. I was just like the art kid. I was the art kid, and then I came to a school where everyone is the art kid.
Leaders are definitely built. Like you're not born a leader. Yeah. A leader for me like takes initiative, does the thing that's like right, even though it can be hard, and also like it inspires other people to do their own thing, to do like the right thing and take their own initiatives and help them grow into like what they want to grow into.
I also define a leader as somebody who's not afraid to be the first person to take the step that normally your friends or peers wouldn't do. So it's just like, be the outcast, you know, be the one to lead by example. You know, it's always about, well, what can I do to further benefit myself and my peers as well?
Be able to influence and change people's lives that a leader has to be able to do, because they're like, they're the ones that guide and help people.
Yeah, it's really nice if you like figure out that you've inspired someone, and it's like the greatest feeling.
Meg Saligman was a trailblazer. She recognized that as a fine artist, she also had the possibility, the opportunity to influence others by working in the community. She was ahead of her time in working with the community to bring people together to create art, and as the artist, help them realize their own artistic vision while addressing community issues. That is quite an unusual and special gift to have.
I had always loved painting large. I love people. I love being outside. A scaffold is a giant jungle gym for adults. So truly, it was everything I loved. I just feel so lucky to be able to do what I love as a profession. I think my purest moment of bliss is, you know, up at the top of the scaffolding, mixed and lugged all your paints up, and you've got your grid all laid out, and you can just take your gallons of paint and start slopping it around. And then you could, at the end of the day, you stop and you look over perhaps a city you're visiting and you're thinking, wow, like how lucky am I to be up here? Sometimes I say my media that I use is paint, light, glass, buildings, and people. I love to see what happens when you bring an idea to a collective group. So the content of my work is coming from, the first thing we do is seek and cull from people. My role is the vessel with a vision. I have to be able to hold a lot that comes to me, but I have had the supreme good fortune to have worked with some of the most inspired artists. It's just, it would be impossible to say I for 99% of the work that comes out of this studio. I think that there's great power when people gather together to make something with their hands. I believe in that. All my work, when you look at it, anything that you see in the work will be from the site, the surrounding environment. That's really important to me. I feel there's an authenticity and a content there that I'm very interested in. Having your work so out there, so publicly, it's a huge risk, right? As a public artist, you have to accept that risk and take the good with the bad. You also have to believe in what you do. If you believe so strongly in the process as well, I think that helps you endure. Perseverance is probably one of the key ingredients. I am willing to do stuff that I don't like to do to further the art. And I've had to learn stuff that I'm not really good at. Like, I suck at, you put a spreadsheet in front of me, I don't freaking get it. Or a budget, a spreadsheet, I had to get good at it, or my art was not going to grow. So I think when it comes to the point you realize I'm not going forward, then you gotta step up the stuff you don't like. The first mural story got a commission in my hometown to paint on a big restaurant in our hometown, a mural in the lobby. So I was about a third of the way through painting it, and the architect came in. The architect who was renovating the building hated it, and screamed, and they painted it out. Nobody even told me when I came into work the next day what I had started. I'd just been painting out, and I was devastated. But, you know, if I had accepted that as the end of my story and had never tried again, it would have been the end of my story. So don't ever stop.
I want to tell like stories that like don't just like reach like one specific audience. Like I'm like an illustration major because like illustration, it's just like, it's a visual storytelling and learning from something and then kind of taking it in your own way and giving it back, and just like those kinds of cycles really like intrigue me and inspire me, and so I just want to like start one for myself.
I'm pretty much sure that I'm going to be in concept art. The person who does all the preliminary sketches and illustrations for like a movie or a video game or animation, you're just drawing all day. You're drawing like people and then like it's like you get to see your drawings and illustrations come to life.
It's just like, I feel like everybody should be comfortable in their own skin. You don't have to be like a size 2, this, that, and the third. So it's just like, why don't we create clothing that they can wear for all sizes, you know? And that would be kind of my idea. You don't really want to shelter anybody out, be like, oh, you're not beautiful according to somebody else's standards because this, or, you know, we're going to shun you because you look like this.
I think I want to go into like a residential home design, and I want to make houses that feel like home and are also good for our home, so like good for the planet. I want to do like sustainable design and like a lot of things that'll like help out with the environment.
I guess I do have like an idealistic quality to myself. I want to make video games that change the world, that change people's perspective, because they're very immersive mediums that you can really like fully put yourself into this this virtual world and experience a story that like other people have crafted. So I want to be part of that process where of world building, of story making, and interactivity that allows people to really empathize with other people. So through that, I kind of like, that's how I want to change the world in that way for the better, of course.
I am very proud of the Moore women. There's nothing better than being around young women of creative promise. It's fantastic. The talent is amazing. My wish is that they are able to understand that life is a journey, and that this first job that they will get as a result of being a Moore graduate is the beginning. And that what they should continue to do is to learn as much as possible and to cultivate their network by tapping back into the strong network of colleagues and peers that they have at Moore, so that they will always identify themselves as a Moore woman.